Welcome to Raging Recaps. Sit back, relax, grab a drink as we tell you some of our stories.
Welcome to Raging Recaps. We recap all the events of our Waterdeep Dragon Ice Session 11. It happened last Thursday. It was an absolute cracker of a session. I can't wait to get into it. But first, I want to give a couple of announcements. First, a quick shout out to Beyond Blue. We all know we're in a pretty tough situation right now with COVID-19 around the world. Beyond Blue do some amazing work for those people suffering from things like anxiety, depression, and anything which is really getting you down. They need support. They're there to support you if you need some help like that. If you can donate or you need some support, reach out to beyondblue.org.au. And
Yes.
Rod, you had something to say.
Yeah, so we have clocked over way past our 75 followers, so we've already had a nice giveaway there. So we are now aiming for 150 Twitch followers, which we'll be doing another massive giveaway at 150. We are also gearing up for a big October. So Mental Health Month is October. So for every game that we're going to play in October, we're going to do a Nat 20, Nat 1 game. So we've got some sponsors on board already for the Nat 20 part, and the players will be taking the Nat 1 part. So let me explain what happens. Nat 20's rolled. Our sponsors will thankfully throw in $20 cash for a donation to Beyond Blue, which is awesome. But on the flip side, Nat 1 gets rolled. That player character rolling that Nat 1, ponying up their own money for a big donation there. As I said on the Thursday stream, the guys at Miniature Hub are also going to donate a huge miniature prize pack for us, which we'll be silently auctioning off from the whole of October. So it's going to be some real big giveaways there that we're going to ask people to dig deep and pony up the cash for.
Awesome. Thanks, Rod. Also, I want to say welcome to Robin joining us for our first Raging Recaps as DM.
Thank you. Good to be here. I have my first question as well, which is always good.
What's that?
How do I get my moustache to look so luscious?
Cool.
Asking the real hard-hitting questions. It's a hard thing to do.
Player character tears.
Yeah, it catches all of the sadness as I slowly murder each party member.
All right, let's look back for a moment. Let's look back to the start of our last session. We started the session 11 pretty well mid-battle with a goldfish. Rod, what did you think was going on here and how we handled the goldfish?
So, metagame-wise, or, myself-wise, I knew of, just through talking to other D&D people, that Xanathar had the goldfish, and I think at the very start, one of our first sessions, we met a dude that was in a purple room and was super eccentric.
Yep.
And he had a fake goldfish. So it was all about Xanathar, not stealing. He mentioned not to steal the goldfish from Xanathar.
I think
So-
his words were that it was sort of the one thing that he sort of cared about, and that that was sort of the importance of that goldfish.
Yeah, so when we ended up in there, and I'm still trying to work out how we got from a sleep state to appearing in a goldfish bowl, but it was like I could not, grasp the fact that we just couldn't. Well, say Bear could not hit this thing, practically being on top of it. But the spin out was it was doing no damage other than trying to eat Ziv alive. Like, no other magical powers, nothing coming from it. So that kind of weirded me out. I was like, right, something's not. This is not all it should be.
To be fair,
this is not the end.
goldfish.
This is not. It was a goldfish. Yeah, but I thought, everything in D&D is not just a goldfish. It's like a goldfish that turns out to be a freaking 25th level paladin that just cuts you in half.
We touched on this a little bit last week with, how the hell did we get from falling asleep on those beds into a fishbowl? And we're trying to figure out, was that a dream state? Was that real state? How the hell did that happen? Robin, we've got the man who owned the story. What the hell happened?
Absolutely. So, this is one of those things that in a place such as Xanathar's lair and his hideout, things are often in that weird in-between state of, reality and magically infused everything, right? A being like Xanathar is not a logical creature that, plans things out and has everything built to his specifications. He sort of wills things into existence. As many people know, a beholder is created simply by another beholder dreaming them into existence, and they're so innately magical that it becomes a part of the world. So I wanted to capture a bit of that magical craziness, and in that moment the room itself seemed to be calling you all to sleep, right? And the place itself was magically infused, and beyond that, when you fell asleep, what magics carried you to be miniaturized and teleported? Xanathar himself only knows, and you've killed the source to that.
We may never know. Oh, so good. When we first ended up in that room with the beds there, I thought for sure that was just part of the map, and there's doors there, and the map must go on through all these different tunnels and passageways. Definitely wasn't expecting that twist of the story.
Oh yeah, I agree. I reckon it was I just could see a night of just con check, con save, con save. But no, instantly it was gone. Unless you were Mark playing Claymore, who was playing con check after con check.
See, now the interesting thing would have been if Mark had decided to continue to investigate without the rest of the party. That was an option. Obviously, Mark had not been affected by the pull of the room, so could have carried on. And as you all know from the previous time we went through there is a piece after that, right? There was that sort of throne room that you met the beholder in, not the beholder, sorry, the mind flayer in originally. Yeah. So there was something to go beyond that, but because most of the party went to sleep, that was all of you gone.
Yeah, I really thought at that point that the mind flayer was coming back into the story at some point, and I thought that was the point.
And isn't it interesting that we still haven't seen the mind flayer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you mean still hasn't?
All right, let's move on a little bit. We've moved on. We ended up in the fishbowl. Goldfish destroyed after many a round of attacks on this mammoth beast. It was, as big as a goldfish, so he must have been absolutely minuscule. To then finding the stone, what did you think was going on, Rod, when we started to see all these different coloured circles pop up on the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with the stone, but I thought this is going to be like some puzzle master shit where we're going to have to dig through stones and, pull one up and this is going to happen and not happen, or it's going to be like a big smash and grab for it. But the weirdest thing was getting ripped back to the Winchester. I didn't expect by holding it that was going to be like, see you later, bamped back. I thought at least, you'd have time to inspect it, arcana check it, work it out, do all that. But just that rip backwards, I was like, okay, we're like any other game plan we thought about. It's like, gone. I was like, okay, what would happen if we had, and I thought the other way, what if we'd not gone looking for the stone? Like we knew we had it in mind, but we decided, right, let's see if we could find the glass edge of this fish bowl or whatever it was. Because that is totally our party to just deviate from the actual task at hand.
Ren was this close to doing it. She wasn't keen in being stuck underwater for that long. She wanted to get the hell out. I think I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to start swimming up, find the surface. Then all the circles started appearing. I thought, hang on, there's a reason these are appearing here. Let's see where this goes. But I was starting to think that we're going to have to sort through the millions of pebbles on the ground. And lo and behold, a massive treasure chest appears.
Yeah.
It was so good. But then, to be... What was it again? We basically touched the stone and then woof, we just bamfed out.
Well, the first time I think it was a Red Helm that grabbed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with Red Helm grabbing it, the entire party was relocated, falling through the roof of the Winchester shield.
Yeah, how is it we can get relocated but still not exactly where we need to be? We're still going to fall through a wall or a roof or something.
Well, magic again is an imprecise art form. Now, so obviously the stones are heavily imbued with magic. Being Xanathar, one of Xanathar's most prized possessions, who better to entrust it with than his fish? And obviously he has a penchant for miniaturization, as you had first-hand experience with. So there it was. You found yourself next to the thing that you most desired out of this outcome. Now, with the break in or the burst of magic, simply put, with Red Helm grabbing the magic, it was an instinctual urge to be away from this place and to be safe. And that was what guided the burst of power. That's what led to falling through the roof of the Winchester Shield.
So we can blame Redhelm for taking us through the roof.
Absolutely. Blame him, not me.
I think most of the stuff we can start blaming Red Helm on.
So was it at that point we got to level up? Right?
Correct.
After
It was
beating the
with that
goldfish.
surge of power from
That's right.
from the stone that you actually were able to just boost in strength.
I think I said it on the stream, but it felt like going from level 4 to level 5 just seemed like a massive step. Having been at level 4 for so long, it's like, holy shit, now as a ranger I can attack twice? This is amazing! And you leveled up a fair bit, Rod?
It opened stuff up, but then again, it was like, okay, I'm getting an extra attack, I'm getting more movement, this is cool. But instantly, it's like, even going against a beholder, it was like, holy shit, everything jumped up a gear. It was like, cool, you've just passed probation. You're now in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter whether you're level 5 or level 10. You're gonna fuck the same shit. Here we go.
Not that it mattered.
No,
So-
as it turns out, it didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The commotion that we heard thereafter, what did you think it was going on at that point, Rod? Did you think it was Xanathar having a freak out, or something else
I
going
thought
on?
it was. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Hisiko. I didn't think it was going to be directly Xanathar, but I thought, right, because we had sent that guy to go and blow up, he was going to make a big boom outside the battle arena, or whatever it was over there. So I thought, right, that's gone off. We've been, swimming in the day spa. So it was like, okay, this is, we're going to go into a shit show. And I didn't think we were going into this giant, I honestly thought we were going to go through 3 sessions of just pure combat, being a level, 300, just carnage. And trying to work out what we're doing as we're killing everything. But when we got there and it was a beholder, I was like, this is not going to go well. Because everything you watch, every other, game you listen to, and a beholder comes out, it's just like, holy shit. There's just everything can go wrong. And it nearly did, but
It nearly did.
it's just one of those. It was like, and we didn't even stop to rest. We're like, let's just do this.
People needed
And I
help.
think-
They needed to be saved.
I think that's the funny thing, because we look at the time, right? We know we've got about 3 to 4 hours of personal game time on a Thursday night, and we had about an hour and a half left, an hour and 20. We all just went, fuck it, let's go for it. No time to sink it. Let's just drop the hammer. And...
Yeah, whatever
Jam.
will be, will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Ren, having tossed Zim straight up to the ceiling to take a look. Fuck, I'm glad that worked out. That was great. I had completely no idea, even metagaming me. I didn't even think it was Xanathar. I thought it was some other crazy shit going down, something unrelated or related to the other parts of the stone going off. I didn't even click that Xanathar was having a meltdown. Which is why I was like, yeah, it's fine, let's go.
Good.
It's
And that's the thing is, though, you can run, if you think about it, there's about 6 storylines that could have all linked in, and you're like, what if it's this? But what if it's this? But oh shit, what if it's this? Oh god.
But then, after pursuing or tracking down the source of this commotion, there was Xanathar spraying his eyeballs all over the place. What were you thinking at that point, Robin? What were you thinking throwing that at us?
Well, it's like in that moment, right? Like I knew that you had annoyed Xanathar to the point of seeking, revenge regardless of the costs. You took something from Xanathar that meant more to him than his empire, and it was that natural just rage that forced him out, I was curious to whether or not you as a team would consider not going towards the source of unending power, right? Which, in hindsight, how naive of me, okay?
Yeah.
I'll take that. But, there's a piece of me that wondered how you would react to that. Would it be a stealthy approach where, you would try and send one to just check it out? But no, you all sort of valiantly headed for it. And at that moment, I knew that because Xanathar had shrunk you and knew who you all were, when he saw you, it was over. He would do whatever he could to destroy you. And that's what happened.
So were you generally thinking, like, from a DM point, that this could end in a TPK? Like, you hammered Ren with a disintegrate. Like,
yeah, if that hit, Ren could not even have been resurrected, right? That was an instant kill. And I was going to push as hard as I could because realistically, you guys had attacked something that was too powerful for you. It was not designed to be an encounter for you to fight in that moment. It really was like, this is one of the big bads. You should approach this with a little bit more care when you're strong enough to do so. And it was, and I think in a way you could see the power of Xanathar, but in his own way, his rage in that moment caused him to come at you lacking his usual precautions. He came alone. He did it in the spur of the moment, which in the end was his downfall.
It really was.
I must admit, it was. That's why I was asking, is their height, trying to think of some way to break up the. But, it was one of those things. It did feel like after a while, as soon as you hit Rem with that disintegrate, I was like, yeah, well, we may have bitten off more than we could chew here. Like, holy shit.
After being reduced to 2 hit points, and I think if I had failed one of those saving throws at some point, that was it, right? That was me finished.
Yep, that last one was that disintegrate. You would have been a pile of ash on the floor.
I don't think I could make it to cover in time because I'd used all my movement. The map that you sort of quickly threw together there with your super artistic speed.
No need to brag. Yeah.
It was tough, man. It was just like basically a channel of pain at the end. There was basically nowhere to hide.
Yeah. So when you go back and you watch all those old Western movies and everything, exactly what they do, they set a corridor and they stand either side of it and they make the enemy run in the middle. The ambush technique is basically we ran head first, chin up, into a beholder ambush.
Should we quickly just watch it for about 1:10? We'll just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, for those that missed, here we go.
I will say, and this is a big if, that you can make one attack bear in its attempt to escape. Kill it.
No, it's in our Twitter games.
I was hoping. That's not what I meant.
Just look at all those
I'll
dice.
take it.
All those
I'll take it.
Oh my
I'll
God.
double take it.
There was a lot of dice there.
Someone screenshot.
Looking at obviously the last attack here at the moment.
We joked earlier about
The little,
Robin having an aneurysm,
like
but
some little things popping up. We didn't really catch what they were. They disappeared as quickly as they appeared.
Yeah, so
reminds me of a time that someone
Xanathar,
like cat ran
knowing
through multiple
obviously
walls in a row to
had
get
been dealt
out.
quite the blows
On
up
your
until that
plus
point,
side,
right? That
I've
was
run
not the first crit
charges.
that
Yep,
Xanathar had incurred. So Xanathar being a quick thinking individual, realized that if he could restrain you all and keep you a bit occupied, he could pick you off more strategically.
Aha.
And unfortunately, it was in that moment where he was quickly overwhelmed, and he was not able to enact that plan, leading to an attempt of escaping, as we all know.
There's so much I love about this because of all the lead up to how we got here. Like everything of me bagging out Zim for having haste, and you know how quickly he can run, and bagging him out and used it on me to great effect. The fact that Claymore reached out for a opportunity attack so he could do this BAMF attack thing, which ended up going to me. And the fact that using that blade, I was trying to stab the goldfish with it. And I had 3 attacks on the goldfish, which meant it wouldn't have been used for the beholder, but I missed every goldfish attack. So it's just like everything that went wrong led to a perfect double nat 20 in that to just go, adios amigos.
And like that's what I think for me as a DM is one of the greatest pleasures. You know, it's like we like I tell a story where I don't make the rules often. You know, I want you guys to have that like a key piece in it, and that's a great example. You know.
Oh, it was definitely like the definition of rule of cool.
Yeah.
If you look at that, you just play that last 5 minutes. That was rule of cool all the way through it.
Can we just?
And yeah, there was definitely. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Robin.
No, it was definitely that moment where I was like, this is a player-defined circumstance. You know, as a DM, I have lost control over the situation.
Shall we just have a look at what it looks like when Robin loses control of the situation, and see the moment when he realised that Xanathar was no more. The look on his face. It was priceless watching everyone just going crazy with this death of this massive thing, and just Robin sitting there in silence thinking, oh shit, now what? What was going through your head, Robin?
No, I mean, you don't expect one of those big bads to just die like that, right? Like I had not gone into that session expecting Xanathar to be killed. That was the furthest thing from my mind, right? I expected, honestly, in that moment, the thought was, all right, Xanathar's gonna get away. Xanathar is going to, with a reinvigorated sort of passion, come after you all with the full resources of his guild. That was what I had thought. And I had sort of resolved myself to that. And obviously when there was that call for that chance to make a reaction, you know, I like to give that opportunity. You know, it's only fair that there is a chance to do something in response to something else. And that's exactly what was so shocking, because I think Xanathar had something like 40 health left. So even in my mind, I was like, listen, this strike is going to go down. It's going to be awesome, but Xanathar is still going to get away. Xanathar will be able to survive and, you know, be even more pissed, but that's about it. You know, let's let the players have their moment. And it was just so beautiful then that my assumptions were so wrong, because when I saw that 20 and I knew the blade, and I'd like, we obviously counted, you know, I knew there was only one charge left. Yeah. And it was a crit. And I was like, Xanathar's dead. It was this shock. I was like, the poor guy, he's not supposed to die. Like, I felt a little bit like Xanathar in that moment. I was like, you dare kill me?
The look on your face as the rest of, like, I couldn't stop laughing. The rest of the party is just. But when you watch the video back, when you told us that Xanathar was vamping out to another world, we're all doing these ones like, you can't be. And even if I know Hinsa was like, no way, you're not serious. That's bullshit. Like, we were genuinely pissed at you for doing that. It was like, here it is, goodbye.
After
And
it
then,
felt
thank
like we came so
God.
close.
I know.
Yeah, I just love the moment when you had to stop and take a breath and have a cup of tea, and then that happened.
That sip of tea was the most, anticipation I've ever had for a sip of just something relaxing.
I've decided I've totally peaked my D&D career, and I've somehow won D&D, because that was 164 points of damage in a single turn.
Yep.
So
That was insane. At level 5, I might
at
add.
level 5, so that means I'm now going to have to somehow, really amp up the game with this elven shotgun that I've got, and which is going to just have to work. Is just going to have to be nat 20s now, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, nothing ever will feel as enjoyable except just nat 20ing a beholder to death.
Yeah.
Rod, remind me how you got this shotgun and the Voxen blade.
So the Voxel Blade was when, just before we did that rooftop run, where we were quickly rolling to see what we hit and what we didn't. We were in Lord Voxel, we were fighting him, and he had a blade, and he shanked me with it and took a ton of damage. So instead of swinging the great axe, I decided, right, I'm going to do a strength check and rip the blade out of his hand. And so I got lucky and beat him on a strength check then. I happened to take it off him, and I knew it had poison charges in it. I think I rolled for it and got like 6 or 5 or something out of it. So did that, and then about 2 sessions ago I did the same thing with one of the bodies, and there happened to be a shotgun.
It was actually in the sewers as you were heading towards the beds. One of those hobgoblins.
Hobgoblins just happened to have a shotgun, which I did use to intimidate the Griffin Riders at the end of the last episode with no apparent idea of what, barely sure it was even holding it the right way.
So
that too was an intense moment, though.
Yeah, that was ego-driven. That was. I'm not sure where the player character and the actual human player.
There's a meld there.
There was a meld. There was a real arrogance from the guy that had just racked up his, highest score in D&D to just be like, I'm going to kill anything that moves now. I'm going to try and take a full 300 points in a single game.
So we encountered Xanathar. We, with luck on our side, got rid of him, and then came the city guards, to try and lock us up. I didn't know what to do at that point, to be honest. I was just a bit shocked we just defeated Xanathar, and I was looking for the next hook to go and chase down the next stone. What were you thinking, Rod?
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I think that's where the hype of it all is right, what is going on? No way, we just rock Xanathar, get out of our world. But it was actually really interesting, trying to work out what was going on. But the one bit of RP that I loved was Ahinzo playing Soraya with her full-blown attitude, and I think it was in the chat, Izzy from the Nat 30s called her the Raging Karen.
Yes,
and I was like,
that was
that's such a good call. And I was like, she just plays this don't you know who I am? Don't you dare step into my world. And she just dropped this huge charisma persuasion check as they all left, and I was like, damn. It was almost that moment of you could see her becoming a cult following. It was everyone cheerless for Soraya. That was just one of those moments that was just like a shitstorm, but it was just another really cool D&D moment that we had. And you're right, Izzy, it does work. The Raging Karens.
That might have to go on a Raging Rolls t-shirt from the merch store.
I think so too.
Raging Karen.
I would also love an emote for Twitch. I think that would be so good.
Oh,
just whenever something happens where we get one of those moments, just slam those in chat.
Raging Karen.
Yeah, just a Raging Karen emote.
We might have to rename the Karen so don't break Twitch's community guidelines. But I think it's very good.
Thank you.
Raging Karen.
R&R to the core.
So, presently, where are we? Robin, Rod, where are we in the story right now?
Well, I think we've just been taken into the Griffin Guard, so I think we're for us, it's going to be what's the next. What do we do? How do we find this next thing? We've got Zim's Book of Spells and that red orb that we've got to work out what the hell that thing does. We've got a lot of loose ends, so to speak, to work out where we are, what we've got to tie up, and then where we're going, because we still have a countdown clock on these kids that we've got to rescue. So, I feel like it feels like we've kind of conquered what we need to do, but then there's like, oh shit, there's actually a ton more to go. And the fact that the actual, module is called Dragon Heist, there's a whole bit we haven't even touched on yet.
All right, with that in mind, I think we've recapped our previous session well. Let's have a look at some dungeon mastering.
Oh yeah.
So, quite fitting that you are with us today, Robin. I was really interested.
Nice transition, by the way.
Thanks, man. Really interested to think about when we went from the pathways and the dungeon in session 10.
Yep.
And I remember we're in break, and you're like, we'll pivot. I've got something in mind. To then, we're in a fishbowl, and that all seemed to work.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that, and like how did you execute on that pivot?
Sure. I guess for me, we spoke a little bit, without not on stream, but of the fact that I had become quite restricted by the books of the Dragon Heist campaign, and it was really a desire for me to be able to be more flexible and introduce more just ridiculousness, which is something that I love about a world where magic just exists so intrinsically. And I find myself, as probably you guys as well, thinking about the campaign throughout the week, and it just sort of dawned on me that the most fun thing possible that I could think of in that moment was that somehow you all ended up in a brawl with his fish. I couldn't think of something else that would quite be so out there. There was no way that you guys could see that coming. That could not be in your mind. So I was like, okay, how do I make this happen? That became my next mission, right? I was like, that has to be what we do. There's nothing cooler than that. And so it really became a mission for how do we get there. And obviously, if you had gotten through and broken into the main lair, which, by the way, you still haven't quite figured out how to do yet, there was going to be a full-sized encounter. You guys were going to be full-sized going through against some of Xanathar's lieutenants. And I think in the end, when we got to those beds, in that moment, I knew that without before that, it was right then where I was like, hang on a second. If you all just fall asleep and the magic takes effect, it would be the perfect situation for you to be in Xanathar's gaze, And so, in that moment, suddenly the room became drowsy, and I called for that con save. And it was just it was on the spur of the moment, and half of you were affected, and the other half obviously weren't. And I was like, oh no, you guys are gonna get out of here, and we'll keep going. And I was like, fine, if that happens, we can continue, and maybe this doesn't occur, and you will continue with the sort of normal encounter. But then you were all like, all right, you keep watch, Claymore, and we're gonna also join them for the nap. And I was like, woo!
I know, that's just we just played India, and that's what I love. That's what I'm interested in. How many times have we played basically into your hand, exactly what you pretty much wanted us to do?
Yeah, there's been it once or twice, but you gotta know your players too, right?
Yeah.
I think part of what makes DMing fun is I'm nothing if not just somebody that puts interesting things in front of you, and I see what you interact with. There's some things that I put in front of you that you don't, And it's like as we go, you know, I get much better at it. You know, I know that if I put somebody that talks shit about any of you, you're not going to let them go.
So, knowing us and knowing how we just like literally pull up a handbrake going one way and we'll just hook it left and just take down that road.
Yep.
Getting in the fishbowl, was there any other sort of scenario you had in your brain of going, there's a high chance that they will not attack this fish, that they will go straight looking for the edge of the, you know, someone like Soraya or Zim will try and drop fireball, lightning, like zap everything and make the glass explode.
And I think that would have in its own right been such an interesting thing to explore. You know, I would have then made it sort of like you guys as miniaturized versions of yourself exploring this incredibly densely packed hideout of Xanathars, where you're just everything is these giant magical items just stacked around you, but you guys are just too small. Like, how do you get back to normal size, right? That would have been the next mission, because
so it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets the Beholder.
So yeah, and that was the next step. If that's the way you guys went, that would have been that session. It would have been completely. So the flexibility to be the ridiculous murder hobos that you are, you know, you probably would have fought a bunch of rats like that Rick and Morty episode, just like these massive rats just coming at you, and like it would have been in its own right quite a fun challenge.
Once we got into that fishbowl, how much of those different paths did you have kind of had thought through?
Well, you know, like you sort of keep it broad, at least in the way I DM to begin with. You know, I want that flexibility, right? Like we just mentioned 3 possible pathways that would have been very different. When I saw that you were all sleeping, it was like, okay, cool, fishbowl, we're going, and that's immediately I was like, okay, let's make the fishbowl. Let's grab a goldfish, and luckily, like, we got one in there quickly. I was like, there it is. But then it was obviously Claymore dragging behind. That was an element that could have been a kind of a thing that would be a mixture of two. Imagine if he then snuck through human-sized and was like in Xanathar's lair and like could see you guys as miniature people. Like he could have potentially plucked that fish out of the bowl and just threw it on the floor. You know. So it was just like there was a lot of juggling, but yeah, once you guys were in there, and obviously the fish, and obviously Xanathar peering in and setting the fish on you, if you will. There was 2 options, you know, either you stay and fight the fish or you try and escape. And I'd hope that, you know, being who you are, you would have attacked the fish. But that's how we ended up there.
So for new people DMing, like they get the Dragon Heist book, they're up to this point in the campaign with their party. How much guidance does the book give you on all those different scenarios, or does it say if, like, because you obviously have used the books a little bit as a guidance, and with all the new books coming out, you know, the Frost Maiden one and Tasha's and everything that's coming up in the next foreseeable future with, you know, new ways to campaign and everything. How much sort of guidance do you get, or you just go, cool, that's a really nice base level, and this is kind of A to B, but whether they go through C, Z, Y, P to get there, it really doesn't matter.
Like, I find the one thing about the books, you know, they give a pretty prescribed process to go through. And the one thing that I found immediately with you as a group was that you were probably not well suited for a campaign like Dragon Heist. It was like very nuanced, and it was very political, and there was a lot of mystery, and you know, most sessions would be like you sneaking around trying to find out information, and very low fighting. And like there was one moment which really like cemented that in my mind. Was we were in the docks right before you met the mother and the father of the 2 children who are at risk for their lives. Where I think it was you, Rod. You're like, when are we going to kill something? And I was like, you know what? Like, if we want to kill something, let's kill something, right? Like I, at the end of the day, control where this goes. And like, if you guys want that, like, I'm not going to stand in your way. Like, this world suddenly got a lot more antagonistic. and I guess that's where I think that anybody who's playing, you know, these books are incredible. They have plot hooks, they have interesting characters, they have really well thought out scenarios, but your players will naturally gravitate towards certain things, and that's where I always go back to, like, I feel my core responsibility as a DM is to create the world that's going to be just the most fun for my players. And so, you know, although we are still following loosely the direction, the path is completely off the track now.
Nice.
And I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do, is say, you know, like, yes, we started in the same world as a lot of other parties, but our destination is completely our own.
Yeah, for sure. I've catch another stream on Twitch. God, the name of it escapes me at the moment. Fateful Encounters, I think. They're also doing Dragon Heist, and they've just got themselves the tavern. And it's interesting that even at that early stage, how they've changed it to suit their party. Like, for example, they haven't got Dennis the Ghost, they have a rat in the tavern as the thing. But just to then diverge that far while still keeping that, you know, you've got the module which has like the key things in there, but you're right, however you get there, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Correct.
It makes total sense what you say, Robin, about how the party plays one way. Like, we have not at any point checked on what Dennis the Ghost could be, what value we could add. We've just assumed
accept who he is as a person.
Accept who he is.
We're very accepting like that.
And then went up to like session 11 or 12, and we still, like, you do that with 3 to 4 hours per session. Like, we're 45 hours in. Like, we have not once checked up on what this dude could be. We're just like, it's cool.
And I think a great example of that, right, is now you all at this point where you're like, okay, what is that next plot hook? And I think that's interesting, because in other groups they would be like, okay, this is that string, and this is connected to that, and this is like potentially where we might follow that through. But because of the way that you've played, you know, I've intentionally kept it sort of pretty single-minded, so that you could just sort of focus on the immediate bad guy, but, you know, also mimicking how your characters aren't trying to figure out really what's going on in a big picture. You saw one bad person and you like just went for it. And so I think with that dealt with, it'll be interesting to see how, with, you know, that focus being lifted, that a lot of those other elements will come into focus now, so close to you know, the time that you need all of these stones by.
I just have one last question for you, Robin.
Sure.
You said you often think about how your characters, how the players play, what they might do.
Sure.
When you do that, do you think about what the characters will do, or what the players will do?
I think there's always a combination of both of those things, right? One of the DMs that I work with a lot always says, you know, it's the player's responsibility to get their character to engage in the world. And so, like, I will be putting things in, knowing that hopefully you as a person, as a player, find it interesting, and then hoping that you can find a way to, in RP, make your character also find it interesting. And I always think you got to start by engaging the player, and then going through, and it's their job to then make the character do the right thing.
So on that, quick follow-up question. Have you ever put something in expecting, say, Ren to take it hook, line, sinker, and suddenly Zim's grabbed it and run with it, and you've gone, okay, shit, didn't expect that player to, like, run down?
Every day. like a great example. Here's the Stone of Galore, this incredible magic object. I did not expect Red Helm to take it. You know, we've got a wizard sitting there like, oh, let's inspect this magical object. No, completely not. Let's just charge right in and just grab the stone. Like, there's moments like that which are scattered throughout. Like, obviously the wizards aren't as they don't have that same just gut instinct to do things. Where I think like the barbarians will often put themselves in a situation where, it might not be in their best interest, but due to a lack of patience, they're just like, go for it. And so it's like, yes, this is designed here to entice the arcane-focused people, but it's a shiny rock, Of course the barbarian's also going to be interested. It's like, it has like this interesting sort of duality to it.
All right. Well, actually, a couple more questions for you. Without divulging too much information, too much detail, how much of an impact has killing Xanathar? How much of an impact do you think killing Xanathar is going to have on the rest of the campaign versus what it was going to be 2 weeks ago?
Like at a very high level, and I won't be divulging any secrets, but Waterdeep is, at its sort of criminal level, is a tightly balanced environment. There are groups that keep each other in bounds and sort of make sure that nobody spreads too far or becomes too powerful. What you've just done is obviously create quite a bit of a power vacuum. So at a very sort of base level, the city is going to be doing some readjusting as this happens. So beyond that, you've probably made quite the name for yourselves. Where before you were definitely starting to pique the interest of a few individuals, you are now front page news.
I think this has already got my brain spinning. Like, Bear's part of the Zentarum, right? Like, already that's like instantly, okay, now I've got a chance to shoot them to number one. Like, but then, oh God, this is again.
And that's the interesting thing, right, Rod? Like, what if you decide that stuff all this gold stuff, I want to become the leader of the Zentarum and just try and use this opportunity to catapult my way into a position of power and fight.
Oh no, I still have my eye on. So when we did that one-on-one session, and you had Tashlin, who was the head of the Zentarum or whatever, with her gold armor, I'm still fixated on getting that freaking gold armor.
So it's like, there's just suddenly you are so well known that if anybody was looking for you, it would be inevitable that they now will be able to find you. But unless you obviously hide from public view, that the underground is far less certain than it was a session ago. And for anybody who might be trying to still, find hidden magical items, that will make your time going forward a little bit more tumultuous.
Shit, eh?
So inevitably we shot ourselves in the foot.
On that, we need to think about what possibly our next character motivations are. Like, how do you think? I guess on that Rod, with Beowulf basically taking down Xanathar pretty well single-handedly. I'm guessing, Robin, if I'm wrong, in front of a bit of a crowd?
There was definitely at least people that knew the Beholder was there. As I described the session, most of them were trying to run away. Mm-hmm. If a crazy one-eyed demon of a character starts flaying like disintegration rays around, I don't think many people sit around.
No,
but obviously, like, the buildings were burning. People were obviously gathered around the area, but nobody was willing to go too close, except for you idiots. And so that, and coupled with obviously all of the flying guard, they would also go forth and tell tales of what they saw then.
Yeah. What about the guards? So Super Dan is asking, what about these guards? So we just took down a Beholder. We had a chat with the guards. I think there was almost temptation to take them out of the equation. Didn't you try, Rod? Did you try to have a swing at them?
No, I held the gun up to them, which I didn't know how to shoot, and they lit me up with arrows, which did about thankfully, thanks to raging and all that, still did like 16 points of damage.
Yeah. So they were obviously in that moment. They were afraid of what you were and what your piece in this all was, right? Flying in, all they saw was the intense magic, the destroyed buildings, and guts all over. They couldn't even see that it was Xanathar anymore. So you were at the center of all of that destruction, and it was their gut reaction to subdue and then figure out what happened.
I mean, I definitely have to roll in with a bit of a hero complex. Like,
I think well acted. Absolutely.
There's going to have to be. Like, there is absolutely no way I could not play Bear with a hero complex at the moment, having done 164 points of damage. Like, in his mind, single-handedly killed Xanathar with no one else's help. Or maybe Zim's little sweet tap on the butt, but
A little butt tap, a little slap.
I do love
Yeah.
that impression of the haste, just a little, you got this, Cobber.
Yeah. But other than that, it's just going to be like, more jacked up, just going for it. Like, it's going to need to be.
Do you think...
Which worries me because it could get us in. I've got to avoid thinking what it could be from a player point of view, but going, right, this is what my character would actually do. Like, not thinking about being arrogant and how show pony will put him right on the front page and just roll with it, really.
So we're going to be seeing Bear just strutting around water deep, with a bit of a swagger.
Oh, it's
The ladies
definitely going to
following.
be like, I'm thinking like trying to cash in for everything's worth. Like, what's that new piece of armor? What's that new weapon? What's that? Like, trying to get commissioned, whatever, like, just taking that 15 minutes of fame and cashing in as much as I could.
Just as much as possible.
How much of that is going to end up with a massive target on Bear's back, though?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, hugely. But I can't. But that's what I've got to avoid myself from thinking as a player. Like,
And like, what a cool thing to like play your character illogically for the sake of being true to who they are. Like that.
Yeah,
That's very good.
but that's one of the I reckon from a D&D point of view is one of the hardest things to think about. Like, okay, this is what I do and this is what would happen, and then go. But my character wouldn't do any of that. He's low intelligence and driven by battle, and the fact that he does well in battle is just even more driven on the ego. So it's like,
Yeah, I should make you fail just a little bit every once in a while if I could, to just keep that check and balance.
It's interesting to say that. I find that it is hard to get into the persona of that character and think what would they do and play that out. But when you do, you can just get in that groove and it's all smooth sailing.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's
you're
like.
right, Jez.
Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was going to say it makes such a difference to your game
Yeah.
when you get into that groove early and you try and stay there. Like, if you just roll with whether you've got a voice or mannerisms or whatever it is, if you can keep it going the whole way, you actually find the enemy like, that was really cool. Like, I actually played it. But if you try and think about it each time, what they do, they did this, you feel like it's such a process of a game. Like, that session was okay. But some of them you just like that last session, I'm thinking, this is awesome. I'm just being the most arrogant prick. I'm just doing everything a barbarian would do. Just literally grabbing the biggest blade and just laying in and just ripping and tearing.
And my God, did you not do that?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like we could be having a few combat... a little bit light of the combat coming ahead, since we had a couple of sessions pretty heavy on leading up to that first stone, with 2 left to get, and still plenty of sessions ahead of us and plenty of different threads to try and pull on. Whose thread do we pull on next? If that came out really wrong.
I guess
Which
I'll
story
pose a
part are we
question to
pulling next?
I'll pose a question to you guys. Do you feel that there is any chance that you will not be putting yourselves in places where you'll be forced into combat?
Oh, we definitely will. But I feel like it's going to be one of those things that we can't always murder hobo or just bash our way to get the answer. Like, it's going to need to be. And that time we played I think it was the Ack Inc. with the Puzzle Master. Like, that was actually a shit ton of fun. Like, actually going, okay, what does this do and what does it do? Because combat is one thing. I love doing the combat stuff, but it kind of you know what you're doing. But
Good morning to Irish Dad. Thanks for the good morning. Hope you got a cup of coffee in your hand.
You're talking about
Yes,
that last acquisitions thing, Rod. I agree. Even coming out of the puzzle, what do you call it? The puzzle arena, whatever.
The puzzle realm.
we were just waiting for you to do the voice. I was so trying to get him to do it.
And then Mark just doing all that stealth and roleplay to steal everyone backstage passes. I think that's where we're up to, but that was just so good to see how it came to be. Which is one thing to roll dice and say, I swing my axe and I do 400 damage or something. It's just as good a thing to play it out in character.
But Jez, I've mentioned this on recaps before. It cracks me up every time we go into a bar and you start rolling for kleptomaniac. Like, through rent, just stealing every possible thing.
But
like,
you know why? It's because
I love it, because you go to a bar and you're like, and I want to steal things.
I take it. It's because Ren is the quiet type. It's like, well, and a bit of a, keeps to herself, has a not bad sleight of hand. I thought, fuck it, if you guys are all, show ponying it up, I'm just going to go around and steal shit. Fuck it. And I think I did it once, and it just works so well for that character.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing.
But it's like jumping forth between Waterdeep and Black Ink, but it's like Sue, Dave's character, who has this obsession with shiny things and literally grabs them with no thinking. And I think that's one of the things, with this, is that if you can just find that one little difference, like everyone plays a ranger, but having the fact that you've got a kleptomaniac ranger, it's the one thing. Like, you're not playing the ranger thing, you're just playing the small little klepto thing, which in all situations is hilarious. You could be in the biggest bad guy, domain, and you're like, oh, I want to steal that, it's shiny. And like, just diverts a story around the wrong way. Oh, I'm going to steal the goldfish. Like, you're instantly in this whole different world of like, what the fuck is... And from the other side, you go, dude, don't steal it. Oh, shit, here we go. I'm going to have to start killing everything that moves. Like,
It also
there's been many
is a bit of a
times in
shit
Waterdeep,
story.
I'm like, we're going to throw down in a pub and we're just going to lay out about 6 NPCs here. Just because we tried to steal shit.
Yeah, why not, right? It's just because that's what she would do and doesn't give a shit.
And like, I always love that, like, the men in those situations are obviously inebriated. I see you walking up, they're like, oh, another pretty face. You like immediately just put them in their place and then steal their money.
Let's be fair, they deserved it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what the other thing is. The funniest thing is all of us watching you two have this flirtatious confrontation with each other. Sitting there going, I know you're doing it as players, but are you doing it as actual players? We're like, this is an interesting little...
It's so funny, but it gets to the point as a DM where you just disassociate. You really jump into that, and you have to put it. Every new NPC is you just go fully into it, because you can't in the the 3 minutes you have with them try and figure out who they are, right? You just have to be they are chauvinistic, they are half drunk, and they're lonely. That's who they are. Bam.
Yeah,
But I think that's when you get your most fun characters. I look back when we played Death House, and I had that super arrogant kobold. That was one of the most fun things I've had. It was so racist when I look back on it, and so inappropriate. But it was just I'm just going balls to the wall. I am just going for it. And
with
it's
that one shot,
amazing.
full credit for staying in character the whole time, as far as you could.
It's just when you look back at it and just go, what was I doing? That was so not appropriate. I had this weird, Kevin Hart meets Chris Rock meets, Fat Albert kind of voice going on. And that's when we had Izzy from the Nat 30s as a guest as well. So not only have we had an amazing guest player playing with us, I've just gone and made this totally inappropriate character. It's hey, come and welcome to us Australians. We're really nice people. We're not inappropriate at all.
It was interesting, but
Yeah,
also just even when you're robbed of that kind of not personality, but that representation of it, just to still play that next step of that character in Death House. You know, when your teeth were gone, you changed your character and you had a different accent. All right, I'm going to keep who I am, but just play it differently.
But I think for me, that's the one thing that I love doing with this is just going for the voices, even though they're so stupid, and just getting into it. And I think, if you think about, I haven't say I've been playing for 2 years properly. It's like, right, the most fun you have is when you just, like you said, Jess, you just go all in. You just take on that character and you go, you know what? For the next 3 hours, I'm not me. I'm Beowulf. I'm going to be 3 hours of just being this. And I found myself, even the way I sit at my home office, like, it's just, I have to get into the persona. Like, I have to sit in a funny way and just, like, otherwise I can't do it. If I'm sitting all right and formal, I'm like, no, I just got to, half lean forward, do these ones, and just get right into it, because I'm just getting smashes and stuff. And just...
Amazing.
How do you come up with your voices, Robin? You tend to have quite the repertoire.
Yeah, I guess, like, it's always me trying to figure out what type of person they are. Like, my aristocrats often end up being quite English. I find myself, rightly or wrongly, for my I guess uneducated characters going for a real sort of country drawl. And then the eccentrics are where I really have fun, like, because they often require you to, like, really think of something unique for them. Like, a few that I come to mind obviously be the Puzzle Master. I think for him, you listen to a lot of fantasy and I listen to a lot of podcasts, but there was a character on which one was it? It was the Adventure Zone. They had a similar character, and I just loved just the ridiculousness of this evil character, and then was able to just portray him with a similar sort of energy. That's what inspired me. So I guess you find what you like in other things, and you just try and replicate it. It sometimes doesn't go well, but you can try.
One thing I struggle with, even like trying to do one voice, is trying to remember what that voice sounds like the next time I try and do it. And you've got like dozens of voices to try and remember.
Oh yeah. I think sometimes, like, honestly, I forget. Like, there'll be times where I'm sure that, like, the NPC changes, right? Like, if people are paying attention, they're probably like, oh, that's very different. But luckily, like, because as long as it's, like, not Robin speaking, you're like, okay, cool, this is in character. And that's the cool thing with voices. It's like, as long as you change it to a point where it's different to yours, then it helps with that immersion, even if it changes between the different states.
Oh yeah, and like Kronos just said, it's got 100% going to change. You look at Bear's accent, I guarantee it's changed from the first session to this session. Like, you're right. You just kind of go, where am I at this stage? Yeah, that'll work.
I try, but I really can't do Ren's voice at all. Which makes me wonder if next campaign I should not go with a female character. Probably a bit ambitious for the first real campaign.
I've gone female for the homebrew, so we'll see how we do.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be amazing! Can you give us a preview?
Love it.
I haven't gone there yet. I have to really work it out because I'm still struggling with what I'm going to actually play. I think I have decided. Yeah, no, not a raging character. Well, I was doing a paladin, and then today I decided I found I went the war cleric, and I'm like, right, this is it. This is what we're going to see. But I'm modelling her off if you've ever watched Homeland, Carrie from Homeland. So a little bit bipolar.
Nice.
Like really and super obsessive. So
I think we should 100% do a session as we progress later on towards that campaign where we have a chat about some of the decisions we made around character creation, and just go through what we're looking forward to, what we're expecting, and that could be a fun sort of pre-game stream.
Oh yeah. Like what they call it, episode 0.
Yeah, episode 0.
Yeah.
Session 0. The lines are blurring between stream and game. It's
Oh God!
All right, Rob and Rod, we might leave it there. It's been awesome catching up on session 11 of Waterdeep. Really looking forward to session 12 and figuring out where our Winchester Shield will go next.
Thursday, we'll hopefully find out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Thursday, 8 p.m. Check it out. Don't forget, you can always find us on ragingrolls.com. There's links from there to all our socials. Please also give us a follow on Twitch. Subscriptions are always beneficial, and proceeds from that will also go to help out Beyond Blue. We're also going to now head over to our mate Sheriff Dan, who is actually also running Dragon Heist right now. So that'll be
Interesting.
really cool to see where he's up to, what they're doing.
See if they've got a shotgun, because I want to know how to use it. Because next
Yeah.
I'm going to try and find out on Thursday.
So
That may be the end of my character.
So people in chat, make sure you give them a lot of raging love once we hit their.
And just
hit their
be
stream.
sure to rage all over the chat.
Yeah. And don't forget that once we hit 150 followers, we have another mammoth giveaway coming up. We have Natural 20 and Natural 1 donations coming up from our sponsors and from ourselves in October for Mental Health Awareness Month. That's going towards Beyond Blue. And what have I missed?
I think it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
And don't forget,
Yeah, go.
I was going to say, visit the store. We've got a merch store up now as well. Jump on the Discord. Ask a ton of questions. We've got heaps of stuff going on in our Discord. So, there's always questions about the new books coming out. There's tons of crap going on.
Yeah, we'd love to see you on our Discord. The chat continues there. You can chat with all of the players, all of Robin's NPCs. No pressure, Robin.
You want to throw me that one?
That would be amazing, though, wouldn't it? Oh my
Particularly ask for the Puzzle Master and the Opera Singer.
God.
I think it just switched over.
I'll look at him, he's like, and we're gone, thank God.